What's going on YouTube? This is Rybo at the bench, and today I have a cut or carry knife review. Today looking at the Spyderco Shaman or Shaman or however you want to pronounce it. I've heard both ways. I'm going to say Shaman for this video. So this is a knife that I have wanted to try for a long time. This has been on a short list. This is not mine. This was loaned in by Jordan, so thank you very much for that. This was really to kind of allow me to decide if this is a knife that I want to purchase or not. And so I'm very, very excited to get hands on it. This is a really cool and very popular Spyderco knife, one of the larger Spydercos. So really, really cool knife and super excited to try it out. Let me do some weight checks, size checks, all of that, and then we'll get to the review. All right, so you're looking at about 3.2 inches in sharpened blade length and 4.69 inches in the pocket. And then you have kind of this contoured or rounded off G10 coming in at right over half an inch. So I tend to look for 0.5 inches as a kind of a benchmark for what I like handles to be. This is coming in right over that. Not a huge deal because it is a much larger knife. You have an S30V blade, kind of the stone-washed finish blade. The Shaman is available pretty much in this option and then a bunch of different limited runs or sprint runs. I've had my eye on the kind of burnt orange Rex 45 version that I still kind of hope to get. If anyone wants to offer me a retail price, or not retail, but not price gouge me. I'm very interested in that knife. But this is kind of the basic black G10 version, and there's nothing wrong with that because this is a very nice looking and really good feeling knife in the hands. Weight check on this is a little bit heavier because you can see we do have liners in there. They are milled out a little bit, not a ton, and so you're looking at 5.2 ounces, which is not awful, but definitely a bigger knife. Let's do some comparisons. So I'll pull out my other large Spyderco, the Police 4 Lightweight. Let's pull out some, let's do the Para 3 Lightweight. And what else should we do? Let's do the Cold Steel Code 4, another larger knife. So you can see, pretty big knife, no surprises there. All right, so the Spyderco Shaman, or did I say Shaman? I was going to say Shaman. I can't remember. All right, so this is a knife that, like I said, I had my eyes on for a while. And that's really because what I've heard about this knife is very ergonomic, and it's a good kind of compression lock example of a larger Spyderco knife. All in all, that's pretty much what I like about this knife, right? So this knife feels incredible in the hands. You have a combination of two things that make this knife feel really good to me. You have this rounded off G10, and this is done very, very nicely. Not something that you typically get with Spyderco. Honestly, I feel pretty lucky just to get kind of contours like this on FRN. But you have really, really nice rounded off G10, and that makes it feel really, really good. I don't have my PM2 on me right now. It's loaned out to a buddy. But there is a big difference between something like this and the PM2, which is a little bit more blocky and cut off. This feels really, really good. This feels more like a kitchen knife than it does an everyday carry knife, and that's a really good thing. You also have a blade or a handle that kind of tapers up this way towards the blade. The balance, I think, is really good. But also you have this nice forward finger choil, and that means that I can naturally hold the knife like this. I have plenty of room back here, very similar to the PM2 actually, and it feels really good in hands. It's kind of exactly where my hand goes to grab the knife. You could hold it back here, but I don't really find that super comfortable. That feels a little bit unwieldy to me. But that feels really, really, really good. And so I really like that. I think that is one of the best things about the knife, and I've really come to enjoy that. Other things I like, so S30V, that's a fantastic steel. I've had very good experience with that, and so no complaints there. Obviously, the blade on this is a classic kind of Spyderco drop point leaf blade, or I don't know if you really call that spear point, but this is a fantastic blade shape, very slicey. I mean, this is what you'd come to expect from Spyderco. You have a nice little swedge up here, not much, but just taking off a little bit of that thickness. Overall, I like Spydercos are a little bit thicker at the tip here. And this is just a very slicey blade. This is going to do a lot of things very, very well, which is, what you've come to expect from Spyderco. Other things that I like, let's see. I like the compression lock in some ways. I will have a few things to say about it, but the compression lock as a lock mechanism itself is very, very nice. It's one of my favorite locks, period, and no complaints about that. It is a fantastic lock, very strong, very safe, kind of easy to use, easy to get the hang of. This one is not quite as, this one actually reminds me of another knife I have. The Sage 5. So the Sage 5 is not really drop shutty. You kind of have to, well, that's not a good example. You kind of have to, I don't know, throw it closed a little bit, as opposed to something like the Para 3 Lightweight, which just drops closed, if you didn't see that. This knife doesn't really drop closed. My PM2, I think, drops closed. This one, you kind of have to give it a little shake to kind of get it closed. Not a huge deal, but just something to be aware of. But overall, compression lock, very, very solid on this knife. Other things, it's nice that they have a reversible and, reversible tip up, tip down, left, right carry pocket clip, which is nice. And it's going to sound weird, but that's about all I have to say about the Shaman. The jimping up here is very nice, but other than that, the weird thing about this knife is, while I really like it, it's very, very basic. There's not a ton to talk about. You have Spyderco, pretty classic kind of Spyderco quality standards, I guess, but other than that, it's like G10, nice leaf style blade, good steel, compression lock, and spoon clip, right? There's not a lot of flash to it, other than it feels really, really good in the hands. It's a very, very nice tool. And I like it. I think that for the size, it carries very well. And, it's going to be a good kind of practical everyday carry knife. Now, things that I don't like about it, there are a couple things. So the number one most annoying thing about the Shaman here is something that I've noticed with the PM2 in the past, but my goodness, is it worse on this knife. So let me just show you how a classic compression lock works, right? So you have this little cutout right here. I can grab with my finger, drop the blade, and when I remove my finger, you will not see anything there, right? If you can actually see that. Yeah, so you won't see anything there. Let me go ahead and show you what the Shaman looks like. Yeah, so what is that, you ask? Well, that is the tip of that choil, and the PM2 has the same issue, but not nearly as bad as this. And so what that means is, every time that I go to drop the blade, that little choil comes over, knocks into my finger, and then bounces off. So I can't actually seat the blade. If I drop the blade like this, I can't actually seat the blade because my finger's in the way of that closing all the way. Plus the fact that it just sits there and rams into my finger. That is super, super annoying. And it's really not anything well, it's really kind of inexcusable to me. There's no need for this little hump right here. You are perfectly guarded if you were to take that away. There's enough jimping there, and there's enough of a finger choil that there's really no reason that you would need to have that little bit coming out there. It's a real big annoyance. I don't understand how this got past kind of initial design phases. It's like, once you got the prototype of this and you fully seat the blade, if you can't get your finger in there, there's no way that should be allowed to continue, right? It's just one of those very, very simple design flaws that's very frustrating, because otherwise it's a fantastic knife. Other things I don't love, the G10 is very slick, not too much grip there. I would like this to be something more like the PM2. I don't know if that's going to change based on kind of what sprint run or limited run that you get, but this one at least is not great, or at least not very aggressive, and that's something that may or may not matter to you. Other things that I don't love, there's really only one other thing. That is a spoon clip. It's fine. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. I would much prefer something else. If I owned a Shaman, I would probably replace it with something else, but I like a wire clip or maybe an aftermarket clip. Spoon clip just doesn't really do it for me anymore. All right, so that is the Spyderco Shaman. So I'm very excited to have gotten a look at this. Cutter carry, I'll say carry on this. It's a little close, just because that compression lock tab issue really, really gets on my nerves. That just drives me absolutely nuts. It's almost a big enough design flaw where I would nix the entire knife. I almost, I had that complaint with the PM2, and I've actually ended up carrying the PM2 quite a bit more than I expected. So I'm not going to completely disqualify it for that. But I will say that is just something that is, I don't know if that's something that Spyderco could fix with like a CQI version, but man, that would make this knife a lot better. But all in all, I would say that this knife is still on the short list. I would love to have like that Rex 45 version or something fun. And all in all, I think it's a good example of a very ergonomic, larger knife. So very excited to take a look at it. All right, hope you have enjoyed this review, and I will see you next time.